This tool right here is a lot of fun. This is Midjourney. So this is an AI image generation tool. And I'm going to show you today how you can use this particular tool, maybe some rules you can follow with other image generators to create social media content, right? So this is stuff you can post to social media. You can really use wherever you want, right? I mean, this is an image generator. You can use these images kind of wherever you want, and also for business purposes, which is pretty nice. So what I want to do today is just kind of give you a quick walkthrough, couple tips and tricks on how you can get better results from the prompts you're putting in, and just see if we can come up with some fun stuff. So if you are watching, let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd like me to try as I'm going here, right? So again, just let me know if there's something you come up with that you want to see me create. So I'm going to go ahead and make that screen a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm doing. And let me hop over here. So first and foremost, this is Discord. So Midjourney, the way you use it is through this sort of chat platform called Discord. So I'm in here in a private chat talking to this bot. And so what we can do is we just basically explain what we want, and it's going to generate it for us, right? So I'm not going to do this like a whole tour necessarily. I'm just going to kind of show you some fun stuff you can try. But let me just show you a few examples of stuff I made before I got started. So let's say you want to post, I'm based in the St. Louis area. We're not too far from Chicago. So it's kind of curious what it would create. So here's one example. What I put in here is I just said a row of homes in Chicago, right? So you can see the prompt here. I actually said beautiful homes on a street in Chicago to be more specific. And this is what I got, right? This is completely AI generated. You can see that it looks kind of artistic, right? It looks like a hand drawn painting sort of thing. Not necessarily a photo, but you can also make stuff that is hyper realistic like a photo, right? Now, I wanted to just sort of screw around a little bit here. So I have some other ones, like this is a house on fire. Certainly an image that would grab someone's attention on social media. So I've seen these kinds of images used in some ads before. And then also it's just fun to kind of mess around here, right? So these are just a few things I just threw in here. One of my favorite things to do with Discord is just like just say random stuff and kind of see what it creates. So this one I just said an endless universe, and it comes up with these kind of interesting images here. And one of the things you can do with Midjourney is what it's going to do is actually creates 4 versions for you. All right. Now that is something you control in the settings, but typically it's going to create 4 versions. And if you like any of these 4 versions, you have 2 further steps you can take. You can come down here and these first 4 rows, this U stands for upscale. So if I like this 4th one here, I think it's kind of cool. I'll click on U4. And what that's going to do is going to start to generate a more detailed version of that image. All right. And then if I like one of them, but it's not quite what I was looking for, I can also click on the V associated with that number, and that stands for variations, right? So for instance, if I think this one's kind of cool, but I want some new versions of it, I'll click on V3. It's going to allow me in this case, because of some settings I have turned on, I can change the prompt before I submit it. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and submit it. All right. So that's just some of the basic kind of functionality you see here. And obviously, again, in these images, you can see they're quite kind of creative, right? This one I said time distorted, right? And you get kind of these, again, a lot of times like hourglasses, clocks, things like that. This one was dewdrops of mercy. I don't know, it's just kind of making up stuff here, right? But this is what it came up with. So it is fun to just sort of give it some freedom and see what it creates. So I just upscaled this image, and so this is what it looks like in kind of full HD, and that is pretty cool looking, right? So that one's just sort of, again, creative, and then this is the variations, right? So you can see that they're all slightly different, but overall very similar. So let's start talking about how you can use this for social media, right? When you're creating something on Midjourney, and this is where, again, if you're watching live, I want you to chime in here and let me know if there's anything you'd like to see me create, if there's any sort of social media graphics you might like to see. So the first thing you do to create something is you're going to go ahead and put a slash, right? And then you type out the word imagine. So you can see it recommends it there at the top. I'm just going to go ahead and click on it. Before you do that, it won't know that it wants you to create something, right? So you'd have to do the slash imagine, then you can start to write out your prompt. Now, with all AI tools, the more specific, the more detailed you can be, generally the better result that you're going to get. However, one thing you're going to see here is with these image generator tools, you're going to get usually very, very detailed, very creative, very interesting kinds of graphics and posts if you keep the prompt short. However, if you want something specific, it can get longer. But here's the thing to remember with Midjourney is that Midjourney is going to, it's going to use the sort of, it's going to interpret every single word you put in there. So you want to make sure you're really precise, and you also want to make sure that you're not using any unnecessary words. And then you have to experiment, right? So don't expect to get it right on your first, second, or third try. It will probably take more than that to really kind of nail it. So let's start with something relatively simple. Let's say that we want an image. I work with mostly real estate agents, so let's say that we want an image of a beautiful kitchen, right? So in this case, maybe we want a kitchen with high-end appliances, right? So we would say kitchen, we'd say comma. So this is also something you can do to kind of separate each of the details. So high-end appliances. You could say specific name brand if you want. And then let's say, hyper realistic photo. And let's see what it does, right? So again, we're just experimenting. This is completely off the cuff here. And so it's going to take a couple seconds. And like I said before, it's going to generate you 4 different versions of that image. And so as it starts to generate that here in just a second, you'll see that pop down. There you go. You can see it showing up down there at the bottom. And I'm going to see if I can, again, make my screen just a little bit easier for you to see. I might go to full size here. Let me try this one, actually. There we go. That's a little bit easier to watch, probably. And so you can see that here we go, right? So we got some hyper realistic creations here. And so you can see in this case, these still look a little bit like drawings, but they're much more closer to photos. And actually, you might want to have something that looks a little bit like a drawing, right? Because that might be something that is going to catch their eye, right? So, all right, so you create these, you got a couple different versions here, right? So it looks like, let's see here. You've got this one looks like kind of an old school oven there. This one in the bottom right corner, honestly, those don't look all that high scale or high end in terms of appliances, but not a bad looking kitchen. So if you like any of those, we can go ahead and upscale them. So this one here in the top right is kind of interesting. So I'm going to upscale that one. But realistically, we can also just create more versions. So if you want to redo the prompt and just have it regenerate more stuff for you, you just click this. And again, you submit it. You can click that multiple times, right? So if you want to kind of get a few different versions, you click it again, submit, and then we see what we come up with. Now, okay, let's say we want to do something. We're going to do it a little bit different, all right? So now we're going to go back to imagining. We're going to say kitchen, lots of natural light, high definition photo with wide angle lens. And actually, we don't need to have the width. We can just say comma wide angle lens. And let's say lots of natural wood tones. All right, so see what we come up with there. Again, I'm just making stuff up. So if you got something you want to see, let me know. I'm happy to make it for you. All right, so I got Ryan chiming in here. Try creating an ad image for a company that sells subscriptions for fresh produce delivered to your door. All right, that sounds fun. So let's give it a try, right? While those kitchens are generating there again. So we're going to again start with the prompts. And all right, so let's see here. So they're going to be delivering, so let's say fresh produce delivery bag kitchen counter. And we're going to also suggest that they make this one look like anime, right? Just again, playing around a little bit, right? So let's try another one while we're waiting on that. So again, this is a grocery delivery. Let's say, groceries on front porch, hyper realistic, 4K photo, and see what comes up from that, right? So this is where one of the things I really encourage you to try with these kinds of tools is the style, right? So telling it the style and only changing the style and seeing what comes out, right? So in this case, we've got, these are not exactly the same prompts. We can do that though. So for instance, I'm just going to copy this one where we said anime, and let's try it again. Where now, instead of anime, I'm going to say SpongeBob, all right? And see what the difference is in those too. And you can use, famous artists. You can use, just anything that's sort of common knowledge, right? So if someone, if there's a style of painting you like, it's a type of art, if there's a particular cartoon you're going to see here, you can use all those prompts. But always remember, because I feel that, yeah, this one's kind of heading in a weird direction here. You never know what it's going to give you, right? So in this case, it interpreted me saying SpongeBob as the delivery bag is SpongeBob, which quite honestly, I mean, if you put out one of these images here, like, let me go ahead and let's upsize that third one there. That one's pretty ridiculous. That's pretty good for ads, right? I mean, this is the thing about advertising, is really what we want to do with our posts is grab attention, right? Grab that person's attention and pull them in. So that particular image there that it's now upscaling, and again, I know it looks like SpongeBob. Could you get in trouble for that? I don't know, maybe, right? But it's pretty loose. As long as you don't say it's SpongeBob, you're probably okay, right? So there you go. It's kind of an extreme example. But coming back up here to the top, you can see the difference, right? So these ones are kind of meant to look like almost photos, and they've got all this stuff kind of sitting out in front of the house. And then in this case, this is more anime. And what's interesting is that when you say anime, it almost always includes a woman in the image, an anime woman, because that's just such a common thing in anime that it just sort of interprets it as like, hey, we're going to put this chick in your image here. So you can see she's in the actual kitchen. And this one, she's on the bag. And I don't see her in this third one down here, right? So again, if you like any of those, you just go ahead and click on upsize them, which we did with the SpongeBob one. So here you go, right? That's your SpongeBob looks kind of concerned to be filled with groceries here. He looks a little terrified at his situation. So that's kind of cool. All right. So yeah, you can see how quick this stuff is, right? So this is the kind of thing where let's go back to those kitchens from earlier. Okay, here you go, right? So this is like really lots of warm wood tones and things like that. This one's huge here. Let's go ahead and upsize that one and see what that looks like. And then coming back up here to the top, let's take a look at the second set of these we generated. Right, so you get some good ones here, right? So that's the kind of stuff that you want to just play around with, right? Just sort of experiment with what you get in terms of the results. And this is where getting really sort of outside the box can go a long way, right? So for instance, maybe back to that grocery robot, delivers groceries or something like that, right? So sometimes you basically just tell it what you want, give it, just give it some basic guidance, and then see what comes out the other end. So a couple things, I'll just kind of sum things up here and wrap it up for today. But remember that when you're writing your prompts, you want to be as concise as you can. Every word should have a place or meaning. So for instance, let me show you an example of what I mean there. So earlier we did the SpongeBob one. Let me copy that. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to say cartoon style. So SpongeBob cartoon style, not just the word SpongeBob. And my hope is that that's going to change its interpretation, right? Now it's going to draw the picture like that cartoon as opposed to inserting that character into the actual image, right? So I don't know if it's going to get it right. We'll see if it does or not. But that's kind of stuff you just got to play around with, experiment with, and see what you get, right? So here's our robot delivering groceries, and like this first and maybe third one, I'm going to make a upscaled version of those two, and we'll see how they turn out. But again, that's the kind of stuff that's definitely going to grab someone's eyes, right? So that's what we're going to do, is we're going to look for things that are, ultimately with advertising. So you can see here, it's still kind of interpreted as SpongeBob being the bag, right? But you can see that, at least in this case now, he's got a little pineapple hair, it looks like there, but he does have the bag next to him. So I don't know, right? The order of the words can matter too. So putting certain words earlier in that can help, right? So there you go. Now you got your little robot delivering groceries, and that's the kind of thing, you don't want to have any false advertising, so don't imply that they're going to get their groceries delivered by this robot, obviously. But that's the kind of stuff that might sort of stop the scroll and grab attention. Okay, well, that's all I wanted to show you today. Just kind of give you a quick overview here of how this particular tool, Midjourney, works. And hopefully that was helpful to you. So if you do want to check it out, go over to Midjourney. I do believe there's a free sort of experimental trial version you can use. It is public, so your creations will probably be available to other people. But I believe it's like $20 a month to sign up for their paid version, which is what I'm using right now. It can be very, very useful, right? Canva has similar tools that do similar things. So I will do a video on Canva at some point as well. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.